But for those who don't know me, I'm Krista Klon, and I work for Bravo Salon Specialist, and I also have my own salon in Stone Prairie, Wisconsin. So I have a couple different specialties. So I'm a bridal specialist. I love upstyling. It's one of my passions, as well as blondes. So if you were ever to follow me on any of my social media bits, you are going to see lots of trend balayages, lots of trend color melts, and a lot of blonde. So when I teach this class, it's one of my favorites to teach because ProPlex is my baby and it allows me to have my job done successfully. So I'm very excited to share this with you guys. So I'm going to get our ProPlex and bleach PowerPoint pulled up here. All right. And once it's up, can someone just give me a thumbs up or let me know that you guys can see it? Thumbs up, perfect. Thank you, Betsy. Yes, Debbie, thank you. All right, so let's get started. So ProPlex and bleach. I love this slide. I love black and white. It's super beautiful. So notice at the top, you're gonna see our bleach container, and then down at the bottom is our 3-step ProPlex treatment. So REF bleach powdered lightener. So some of you may have a canister, some of you may have a bag. Us stylists who've been using it for a long time, we have our canisters. Now they offer the bag, which is really lightweight. It's also a Ziploc bag at the top. So it's a dust-free formula. So what that means is that it's not going to, when you open your container or your bag, it's not gonna like shoot back in your face. You're not gonna be like breathing in a ton of dust. The strengthening quinoa protein that's in there. So if you've been in any of our other of our classes, you're gonna know that we, with REF, have chosen to use quinoa protein in every single one of our products. So it's interesting, right, that it's in our bleach. So when we are lifting the hair or using our bleach powder, we're also gonna be protecting those proteins because the quinoa protein is in there. And with quinoa protein, that is the closely mimicking natural protein that mimics our hair protein. So it's like the keratin of nature. So it's very important. It's going to be helping that strength while it's lifting. Ooh, my allergies are bad. It's a consistent mixture and consistent weight. So it's never going to be, you're never going to have issues with it changing consistency on you. It's really easy to mix. It's one of my favorites as far as the consistency goes. It's easy to change as far as what you're doing. So whether you're doing baby lights, regular highlights, you're doing freehand painting, balayage, you name it. You're going to have up to 7 levels of lift. And I think that's why I love this product so much, because it's a clear, nice, consistent lift as well. Anti-yellow molecules. So if you were to open this product up, you're going to notice that it is blue. So those blue molecules are going to help fight against the yellow pigments that we're going to be exposing when we're lifting. So it's already going to kind of start doing that toning job for us. And then we can follow up with our gloss later. It's quick, right? So we can change how much developer we're putting with it to change how the process goes, whether it's faster or it's slower. It also will change the consistency for what you need it for. And the other product in there that I love is the aloe vera. So when we're lifting, it kind of shifts that cuticle, roughens it up a little bit, and that aloe vera is going to come in there, and it's going to be very soothing and very gentle to the hair. So you have those two hero ingredients in there, which is your quinoa protein and your aloe vera. And I love that, you guys, because that is so unique to this bleach. I don't know any other bleach that has something like that. So it's a lot more gentle to the hair. So I love it. It's the bomb. I hope other people love this bleach powder too. Any questions on our bleach powder before I move on? Because the rest of it is going to be about ProPlex. No? Okay. All right, good. I'm glad that went over well. On to the next. All right, ProPlex, it's my baby. So this is a 3-step system. So in this picture, you notice that there's going to be a bonder, a perfecter, and a maintainer. Mixing ratio. Okay, yep. So we're going to go back to bleach really quick. So our mixing ratio on that, personally, for me, I like to do 1 to 1.5. On the back of the can, it's gonna, or bag, it's gonna say 1 to 1. So just so we know, when we are talking mixing ratios, it is customizable. So for me, I liked 1 and 1 to 1/2 because it's not super strong, but it's not also very weak, and I like the consistency of that. Now, if you're doing like a 1 to 1 ratio, obviously it's going to be thicker. So it's going to be like a thick, I don't know, I guess, you know, it just really depends, because some people like it more peanut buttery, but the 1 to 1 is going to be pretty thick. And obviously, because it's thicker and then that it's equal parts, it's going to be stronger. So if I were to do like a 1 to 1, it's going to be more of like a retouch situation where I'm not pulling it through the ends, and I want those foils to stay nicely. 1 to 1.5 is pretty standard for me. So that's what I use when I balayage. That's what I use when I'm doing like a full foil. And then 1 to 2, Tori likes 1 to 1.03. Oh, you're like Jessie and your guys' weird odd numbers, because I don't know. Jessie's on here, so if she wants to share her, she can, but hers is weird too. And then 2, like 1 to 2, obviously is going to be, it's going to be a little more liquid, not liquidy, but it's just going to be, it's not going to be as thick, right? And then also, because it's not as thick and the developer's higher, you are going to cut down the strength of that. So it really is just customizable to how fast you work behind the chair, and then also what consistency you want.
Krista, don't make fun.
I'm not making fun. I just love it.
Just
Jessie
kidding.
loves her odd numbers.
The best, my favorite mixture is 20 grams of lightener to 23 grams of developer, and it's perfect.
She loves it. It's good though. I like, that's the one thing that I love about it, is that you can find what your perfect mix is. See, Tori says twins. I love that Jessie says 20 to 23, and Tori's like, yeah, 1 to 1.03. Oh, you guys crack me up. All right. So back to ProPlex. So again, it is a 3-step system. So you're going to have your perfecter, your bonder, and your maintainer. So your bonder is what's going to be, if you're using it with your product, that's what's going to be going into your lighteners or your color. And then your perfecter is what you're using after that to lock that in. And then that baby bottle of maintainer is going to go home with your clients to re-up the ProPlex in the hair. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we go. So what is ProPlex used for? So the ProPlex essentially is a bond builder. So it's going to protect those disulfide bonds when we are processing the hair, or it's going to be rebuilding those disulfide bonds if they're broken down. So as you can see, we have the hair cuticle, the cortex, and the medulla. So it's going to be penetrating into that cortex to help build up those disulfide bonds. So what is a disulfide bond? So a disulfide bond is, it's what in the hair holds the protein, okay? So that's like our protein section of our hair. And then it also is what holds the structure of the hair. So we know that when the hair grows out of the head, the shape of it is going to come from the follicle, but what holds that shape once it's growing out is our disulfide bonds, and that's what's going to hold our proteins together. So it is the strongest link in our hair. So that is the one bond that we really want to protect to have great integrity of the hair. Any questions on that? It's pretty simple. We just know that disulfide bonds are what we want to protect in our hair. And the ProPlex is what's allowing us to protect those and rebuild them. Now, when we're talking about rebuilding them or not allowing them to break, it's not that we're going into the hair going, oh, I'm going to mess her hair up today. You know what I mean? Like, we have no intentions of going in and damaging someone's hair. This is just like it's like an insurance policy. So it's when I'm putting this product in there, I know that I have something there that's going to give me more of that insurance that the hair is going to be protected. So with our REF ProPlex, it is a hybrid cocktail. So there's lots of active ingredients in there and goodies. So as I said, it's going to protect and prevent damage. And that's what's going to help build that internal structure of those disulfide bonds. And the disulfide bonds are also actually what adds the elasticity to the hair. And so we're going to protect the elasticity, the strength, the condition, and the suppleness. So some of our favorite hero ingredients in our ProPlex is going to be quinoa. We've talked all about that one. It's in the entire REF line. Vegetable proteins and amino acids, jojoba seed oil, the vitamin E, sunflower seed oil. So that's going to help protect our color, right? And then we have lots of vitamin B. So it's actually interesting. I have memorized what is in here. And believe it or not, I have a lot of clients who ask me, well, what are you doing? What's ProPlex? And I'm like, well, okay, you know, it's going to help protect your, the integrity of your hair, especially because we're lifting or we're coloring. And then they're like, okay, but like, what's in it? Guys, know what's in it, because you will have people ask you that. People nowadays are so like ingredient based, like it's insane. People want to know what's in products and how it's going to affect them. And it's funny because I don't think it used to be like that. Like, I think 6 years ago, people didn't really care. Like, they were like, oh, cool. You know, like, I'm just going to grab this product because it's smoothing, or I'm just going to use this because it does that. Whereas now people are reading the labels of the food they put in their body, right? They're reading the labels of even makeup. Like, there is this whole movement on knowing what it goes into our products and how it's going to affect our bodies. So knowing these ingredients, I would definitely recommend knowing them and being able to share them with your clients, because it is important. They will ask you, especially because if they're going to pay for it, they want to know that it's going to do its job. So you have all the information right here to let them know that it is going to do its job. Cool? Any questions? Sometimes the chat comes through late, so I'm going to give it just a second if anybody has questions on it, because then I go to the next slide and then it pops up. And I would definitely take a picture of this one. This is good. So, big question. Is ProPlex a conditioner? No, it's not a conditioner. It is a treatment. So you want to make sure that when you are using the step 2 or the step 3 at home for your clients, make sure they know that this is not a supplement for conditioner. This is a treatment. And then they need to follow up with whatever REF conditioner you have prescribed to them. So I'm going to go back to this really quick too before I move on. So if you do bonder, if you put it into your lightener, your color, what have you, and you do not do your second one with your perfector, if you don't complete it, you just wasted your money. The only way that this 3-step system works is if you use the 3 steps, right? So we want to make sure that we're using our bonder, which is what's going to put all those goodies in our hair. That's going to help build those disulfide bonds. And then that perfector is going to come in and it's going to slip, it's going to seal that all in. So we got to make sure that we're using that perfector. I don't care if you got to write it, you know, sometimes we get so busy we forget. I don't care if you got to like write it on a whiteboard or something in your salon, or put a sticky note right where your towels are. And then the maintainer, so step 3, when that goes home, that is what's going to reactivate the ProPlex that you put into their hair. So that's also very important. Yes, can they come in for a treatment and get it done? Yes. Is it going to be affected? Absolutely. But that ProPlex is just going to slowly or quickly fade out of the hair. So when they take that maintainer home, it's going to reactivate that. And I will tell you, I've never had a single person say, no, I don't want that product, because they just paid for the ProPlex to be put in their hair and they want to keep it in their hair. So in salon uses, we have a couple different ways. I've already mentioned a few. So hair color treatment, right? So most of us are going to think, oh, this is something I'm going to want to use with my bleach lightener. Great, you should absolutely use it with your bleach lightener. But think about someone who needs their hair colored. Maybe they've had, you know, a cream color or alkaline base color ran through their ends a million times and that protein is missing. Well, hair color can't hold on to anything if there's no protein there. So it's just going to keep falling out. So the job of the ProPlex is going to come in and it's going to start putting that protein back into that hair so that that color can stay in the hair. So I think every single one of us can think of a client right now that we've had maybe in the past or currently have that could absolutely use ProPlex in their color to help their color hold. I can think of a few. I've had girls who have went from an ombre, you know, 4 years ago when that was still super popular with those super bleached out ends, and now they want to put some dimensions back in there, or they want to go full brown. Well, you took all their protein out, you know, lifting them, and now you need some more of that protein put back in. So adding that into your color is like an insurance policy so that that color will hold. It can also be used in your high lift color, your bleach lightener, which is going to be the most popular. And then we have something called a damage shield treatment. And that is a treatment that I've kind of already like dabbled into, but we'll talk more about that. And that's going to be very helpful for anybody who does have blonde clients or people who are trying to, Harper said she uses hers for curly hair. So it's actually interesting, Harper, that you said that, because if you guys have been following me, I've been working on my curly hair routine. I didn't think I had curly hair anymore after I had my daughter 7 years ago. And I took Tara's, one of our other educators, I took her curly hair video and I've been doing it on myself and I've been absolutely loving it. But this girl has been straightening her hair and curling it with heat, and you can't tell now because it's up, but obviously you can tell I have lots of highlights. I was white blonde 2 years ago, so I've always been a blonde. So my ends are needing some love to get that curl to come back. So her and I talked about, I'm going to do a ProPlex treatment on myself to get that protein in there, not necessarily the moisturizing part, but the protein in there to get those curls to snap back up. So I'm glad you said that, Harper, because that also will help with some of your clients who maybe need some of those curls to have a more snappiness. Thank you for that. So this is a slide on our cream color and just how we're going to use it. So if you notice, it's going to be 1 gram of our bonder to 10 grams of color. And there's a little keynote on there. So to the color amount, not color and developer. So I want you to throw out the developer outside of that formula. And it's going to be the 1 gram to 10 grams of what's coming out of your color tube. And then you're going to want to do your perfector for at least 10 minutes. So your bonder is going to go into your color. You're going to process. You're going to shampoo it out. You're going to put your perfector on for 10 minutes. You're going to rinse. So that's very key. We're going to rinse, not shampoo, just rinse out our perfector and then add our conditioner as well. And then we just have an example in the corner. So we have 30 grams, 7.31, 45 grams, 20 vol, and 3 grams of our bonder. High lift series, so we're going to up that bonder a little bit. So we're going to be doing 3.5 grams of our bonder to 20 grams of our color. And remember, to the color, not color with developer. We're going to process. We're going to wash with shampoo. We're going to do our perfector for 10 minutes, and then we're going to condition. So we have another example, 20 grams, 12.21, 50 grams, 40 volume. And remember, when we're using high lifts, we're upping that volume and we're upping the grams of our developer, and 3.5 grams of our bonder. And if you're new here and you're not familiar with our color line yet, the 12.21 is going to be your level 12 violet ash. How much perfector are you using? Enough to cover their hair. So it's not like a certain grammage or anything. Usually you can get away with like 3 pumps of it. It does glide through the hair really nicely and you get really good coverage. So, and obviously I would make sure that the majority of it is going to be on the areas that you are really going to need it. Bleach lightning services. So when we're doing this, we're going to have 2 grams of our bonder to 10 grams of our powder. So the same thing as our color or our high lift, it's going to be to the powder, not powder with developer. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to, when you use the bonder on outgrowth only, what does the perfector do to the ends if there's no bonder on them? So the perfector wouldn't be, it's not gonna, I mean, it's gonna make the hair feel soft, but realistically, in order for them both to work correctly, it's not gonna do its job unless the bonder was already on there. Now, if you had done a previous treatment on her through her ends, it might, you know, help reactivate those ends a little bit, but realistically, you're gonna need the bonder on all of it. So what you could do, Nicole, is if you are doing the bonder in the outgrowth and then she needed that love on her ends as well, you could do a damage shield treatment on her ends, which is going to be on one of the next slides, while that outgrowth is processing, and then you could have the damage shield treatment on the ends. So with our bleach, it's the same thing. We're going to shampoo it out. Now, if you're going to need a gloss, and with REF, when we're talking toning, we say glossing. It's prettier. So you're going to shampoo that out. You're going to put your gloss on. You're going to let it do its thing. You're going to, depending on what you use, you're either going to shampoo it out or rinse that out. And then you're going to add your perfector after that for your 10 minutes and then rinse that out and condition. So you want that gloss in between that lightning service and then before you do your perfector. Now, the number one question I get with using our ProPlex with our, are you adding bonder to the gloss as well? You could. I mean, if someone's got some really porous hair and you know that that gloss is going to take all wonky and you need that insurance policy so that the protein is in there, go ahead. It's not going to hurt you guys. It's quinoa protein, right? So quinoa cannot over-proteinize the hair. And over-proteinize is like a hairdresser term. We made it up. I don't even think it's in the dictionary, but it can't over-proteinize. It's so molecularly small that it's going to go in, it's going to fill what it needs to, and then it's just going to release. So absolutely, there could be a client that definitely would need that for the gloss to take correctly. Laura says she always does. So she really likes her, I use bonder for any hair service. I add gloss too. Yeah, and that, you know, that's awesome. I have girls that come in just for their glossing treatments, right? Because their hair starts to pick up some yellow from the environment. And that's a great way to add that insurance policy in there, and then also do their gloss right at the same time, and that also upped your ticket. So I love that, Laura. That's awesome. So number one question I get with our Bleach Lightning and ProPlex is it going to alter my time? I have never experienced it. I've never had to up the developer because I put ProPlex in there. I also work fast. So realistically, it's all going to depend on you, but I would say that you don't need to up it. So I love that. I know other people have had that question because of other bonder treatments, but with this one, you do not need to up it. But if you feel that it's going to make you feel better, you know, absolutely you can. What are you charging for ProPlex add-ons? So mine is 20 when I add it on to a coloring service, and then alone, if I were doing like a damage shield treatment, that's going to be 30. But it all depends on where you're at, you know, but I would say most of us are charging anywhere from an extra 20 to 30. If anybody else has what they're charging, go ahead and put it in the chat. That might give her some other ideas as well. I will say when I do add this on, I've never had someone say, no, I don't want that. Everyone, they want that insurance policy to know that their hair is going to be protected. I will say too, all my stuff is a la carte. So if I have someone who comes in for a damage shield treatment, it doesn't include a blow dry. So it would just be their treatment. So they either can choose to leave wet or they can add the blow dry on. They usually get the blow dry, right? Who doesn't like a blow dry? So damage shield. So this is going to be equal parts of your bonder to equal parts of your perfector. You're going to put a cap on it or a bag and heat for 10 minutes. With mine, I like to go about 20. After that 10 minutes is really when that cuticle starts to open. So I like the damage shield treatment to really get in there. Quick thing too, when we have heated something up, we also need it to cool down. So don't just heat her up and then go rinse right away with cool water. We do want to give it, 3 to 5 minutes for that bag to come off and for that heat to kind of release before we go and rinse it out. So you're going to go rinse it out of the hair, and then you're going to follow up with that perfector. And notice I said rinse, not shampoo and rinse. We do not need to shampoo with that. We just need to rinse. So use lots of water, a copious amount of water. And then you're going to follow up with your perfector again. And that is going to be another 10 minutes. And then you're going to rinse that out. And you can follow up with conditioner if you'd like. This is one of my favorites. If you don't have heat, so Kelly asked, if you don't have heat, how long would you leave it on? I would say the same, Kelly. Bagging it, you're going to get enough heat off of the scalp. And then from there, if you want a little bit more, if you don't have something, you can always put a towel on it as well. But I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. You're welcome. Okay, so are we shampooing before this starts? Yes. So when you do your damage shield treatment, you want to go in with your favorite REF conditioner or shampoo, whatever one that the hair needs. You're going to give it a nice shampoo, and then you're going to put your damage shield treatment on. On a client for a touch-up with really damaged hair, can you put it on without heat? Yes, absolutely. So if I have a client and I'm just touching up her roots and then her ends are frog's fur and need some love, I will just put the damage shield treatment on those ends that are left out. And then from there, I probably would just put a bag still over it just to keep a little bit of that heat on there. But absolutely, it's not, you don't necessarily need to use it with heat. The reason why heat comes into a factor, you guys, is because that is what opens that cuticle up for us for the product to go in there. But obviously, if you had some pretty severely damaged ends, that cuticle is probably already exposed. So it's not going to have a problem getting in there. Any questions with the rest of the Damage Shield service? It's one of my favorites. So my girls who are blonde, who like to change their blonde all the time, this is their best friend. So in between their services, yes, you can put it on the ends dry, Nicole. Yep. Or you can mist them, whatever works best for you. But I just put it on dry if I have a root retouch going in there. Because remember, when we put water on the hair, that's also going to be blocking those ends a little bit. So I'm okay with putting the Damage Shield treatment on dry on those ends. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so in between services, so if you have a girl who's on every 6 week highlight or 8 or what have you, they come in between. So if it's 6 weeks, they come in at 3 weeks, they get their gloss done and they get a Damage Shield treatment done. And that ensures me that their hair is staying nice and healthy for their next blonding treatment. And then also they get their gloss and then it's nice and beautiful again. We already hit on this, the importance of the maintainer. But I just want to reiterate it for you guys. The importance of the maintainer is so that the product is still working in their hair at home. It's very important. And if I would say one of the questions I usually get on this is how often do I need to use it, right? That's a great question. So if someone is extremely damaged, which I've had, you guys will see in a couple minutes because I do have a slide on that. I had them use it every time they did their wash cycle for about 2 weeks. And then after that, which is about every other day or every 2 days, is a maintainer the same as a perfector? Yes, it is the same. But the perfector is for us behind the chair, and then the maintainer is for your client to take home. So they were using it every other day, wash cycle for 2 weeks. And then after that, I had them taper off. Now, if it were someone who doesn't have a ton of damage, their hair is, pretty healthy, but they just want to maintain a good protein in there, I say like once a week, they can put it in their hair. And you don't need a ton, right? If their area that they want to really keep that protein in is going to be more your ends, your mid shaft to your ends anyways, because that's what starts to release more of your protein over time. So they really are just putting it on mids to ends. Most these girls who are using the maintainer can get about 3 months out of it, even though it's a smaller bottle. And they love it. They'll always call me like panicking, like, I need my maintainer. Can you please order my maintainer? That was like the #1 product that everybody was asking of me while being on quarantine. So it was just funny because that was the one product that they're like, I need to have this. So, but I will say over time, they will need another treatment because the maintainer, that's only going to stay in the hair for so long, right? So some of my girls, I was like, hey, you're going to need a treatment like right when you get back, and then we'll start your maintainer again. But let's do a mask for right now, just because obviously I don't want them wasting product either. So that's another good buddy for them. I believe, Debbie, I believe it's at 24 for retail. It's either 24 or 26. Because I think we get it for 12. So I retail mine 100% up. So I believe it with tax, it comes to almost 26. No problem. All right. So here is my examples. These are 2 of my work. I don't know how that red line got on there, but whatever. So with the first one you're seeing, that's actually like my baby. I love her. Hair has been my project for 2 years now. So when she came to me, would you have a client use a mask and the maintainer? Harper asked. Yes, because the maintainer is a treatment, remember, and the mask is going to be more of like a heavier set conditioner. Absolutely. Oh, Liz, I recognize that hair. Her hair is amazing now. Oh, good. You follow Kelsey. Awesome. Yeah. So when Kelsey came to me, she had years worth of damage in her hair. This girl has had every extension known to man in her hair. So on top of never taking them out, always having tape-ins or beads or different kinds of extensions, and then also changing her color way too much. She's had purple, she's had red, she's had brown. It's insane. So when Kelsey came to me, I very bluntly told her that she would no longer be having extensions in her hair, and she no longer would be changing her hair drastically until it was healthy. And she had never had a stylist tell her that. So that was fun. So yeah, I put her butt on lockdown, and within 6 months, that is where her hair is. Now, if you saw her hair today, it is white blonde, and it is actually longer than that. So I love seeing this photo because it makes my heart so happy, because you can see what ProPlex did for her. I mean, I put her on a really strict routine. We were doing her highlights every 6 to 8 weeks. And then every time in between there, she was coming in for that damage shield treatment. She was using her ProPlex maintainer at home. She has used all REF products. And then also getting those glosses in between as well. So it really truly was a partnership. We worked really hard on this. And I'm super proud of this one because it's just a great visual. I mean, you really can see what this product has done and what the REF products have done. And then my second one on the other side, this was a one-time damage shield treatment. So this was another woman who came to me, and her hair, you can't tell here, but her hair at the top was actually 1 inch off her scalp. And then the rest of it you can see is just like, it's like Wheaties. It's so bad. She was seeing someone else who just kept pulling highlights through. She also was using a lot of heat at home with no heat protectant. So there's multiple things going on. She was another one who sat in my chair, and I looked at her and I said, I will not be coloring your hair today. We will be doing a one-time damage shield treatment, and then we did the minimal haircut. So you can see that in one treatment and a very small haircut, because she wanted to keep that length, you can see the difference. I mean, it's amazing. And for, I think, about 4 weeks, she came in once a week to get a damage shield treatment. Until I could see that her hair was healthy enough and that top length was healthy enough to start putting foils back in there. And we did that for about 6 months of putting just a root retouch on and matching her color. And then finally, once her hair was long enough, we started to get her more of a white blonde as well. So, and always using ProPlex. So the thing I love about seeing these is, like I said, you can just see it. And I think when we talk about bond builders, we talk about different products, there's so many components to that, right? Like, we can hear about it, but I think when we really see it, that's when we're sold. So I love these. These are my favorites. So I hope that if you guys ever have anybody in your chair who comes to you in the same situation, definitely take a picture of these if you want, because clients love to see them too, because they go, wow, like, that's amazing. So yeah, it's cool. But if you guys ever have a client too, I think it's awesome when you track your progress. So definitely do that because it's very satisfying. And I actually, with both of these women, I have progress pictures for our entire journey. So maybe I'll have to put those together sometime. So we're going to review really quick here. So we're going to talk about our uses. So we have glosses, toners, glazes, open air, and balayage services. You can up the developer. I don't see a need to, but it's an option. Color deposits, color removers, relaxers, keratin treatments. Price points. So for our ProPlex, it is going to be $36 for your Perfector back bar, $36 for your Bonder back bar, and the $26, so it is 26, maintainer at home care. Our lead competitor, so I thought this was interesting, $198 for your step 1 and your step 2, and they are not sold separately. So every time you would need both of the step 1 and 2, you have to buy the package, which is $198. And then their step 3 at home is also $28. So I found that interesting. Oh, and I totally did not see the other uses on the other side, but you guys can read those. This is a salon only product. So ProPlex, because we have the distributor that we have, who keeps all of our products with our stylists and our local business, you will not find this in any other retail store. You will not find it in Walmart. You will not find it in Costco, Amazon, Sephora, Nordstrom's, eBay. And you guys, I created this right here. So when I researched all of this, I saw other bonders and one of our top competitors in every single one of these stores, and you will never have that. I have a question. I see it. What is the average, Liz, what is the average cost per application? You mean for the damage shield treatment? Okay, Liz, if you just clarify on that one for me. Amber, how is it being used with a keratin treatment? There are special instructions for that, Amber, so if that's something you'd like to know, reach out. I will grab that for you since it's not on here. Harper, what do you say to clients when they ask about other competitors, if that makes sense? Yes, right, because we always have the, I hate to name drop, but you know, is it like Olaplex, right? That's the elephant in the room. I share what I know about my product. So anytime you're speaking to your products, you don't want to speak to other products. So when I speak to my product, I'm going to tell you everything I know about my product and say, this is what I'm using. I don't know enough about the other product to give you any information on it because I don't use it. So, and usually when I say that, they're like, okay, all right.
But can I jump in?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is good is, you know, I always explain to clients, if you've ever built a house, once you get in, there's things you would change, right? There's things that you would make better, easier, have a better flow, layout would be different. So I think it was really good that some of the other manufacturers came out with a rebonding system before REF did, because REF got to take the cons from the other manufacturers, the things, the points of difference that weren't awesome, and try to improve upon them. So, you know, one of the biggest comparisons, which seems not a big deal to a customer, but is a big deal to hairdressers, is
right.
I can take the shampoo step out of having to shampoo the perfector off the hair, and I only have to rinse it, but the hair is still left detangled and smooth and soft and not weighted down and heavy. That's a huge plus, especially if you're doing 5 different ProPlex services in one day. You add up those times that you're shampooing and that time adds up. It's much lighter weight than a lot of the other manufacturers out there. A lot of people after a ProPlex or after some of the other rebonding systems, they can feel it in the hair and the hair feels heavy and weighed down for a few times before they shampoo. That's not the case with ProPlex. And then as far as product performance, it is just as good. And the price point is better to a stylist. We can continue to charge what we've been charging if we were using another manufacturer, but saving a little bit of money on our side of things. So yeah. I definitely think that there's pros to REF's ProPlex, because it is definitely just as good, and in some situations outperforms the other rebonding systems out there.
Yeah, it always it always outperforms them. That is the one thing, like anytime I've had new clients, they've used the other manufacturers, and the one thing they'll say, especially with Kelsey, she was using another manufacturer and then she switched to ProPlex and she couldn't believe that the ProPlex actually worked. Like she was like, oh, I didn't think it was going to work because I've used other ones. So she is like ProPlex for life. So yeah, just talk about Harper, I would just talk about your own experiences, everything that Jessie said. And then, yeah, definitely just saying, you know, I don't know enough about the other ones to speak to them. I do know everything about ProPlex and what it can do for you. Tori, do you know if you can overuse the ProPlex? So because this is quinoa protein, you cannot overuse this product. But, you know,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to know if you can overuse Olaplex. I know you can't on ProPlex, but I was just wondering.
Oh, you mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, I've heard of it, like people saying that you can't, like, not to overuse those because of the protein that's in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, I think that's another key factor with the ProPlex is that we can't overuse ours, whereas other manufacturers, you can overuse them.
Correct.
So
Okay.
I like that. Good call. I was a little confused. I was like, wait, what? She mean ProPlex or Olaplex, or like, what's going on? Yeah, good point. Liz, so back to your question, what is the average cost per application? So for the application, for the highlight, or for both products? So anytime I'm adding the ProPlex bonder into like my bleach lightener or my highlights or color, anything like that, I charge an extra 20 for that product. And you mean, okay, and then per bowl. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like I just charge 20 for the whole thing, but then Laura said she personally charges $5 extra every mix of ProPlex above the initial. So, you know, it's how much are you going to use? I mean, you obviously use a lot more of it using in your high lifts. You don't use a ton of it in your color. It's really just going to depend on what you want to do personally, but I would say start at 20. If you want to add extra 5 per bowl like Laura does, go for it. And then my damage shield starts at 30. So,
And then also, Krista, too, one of the big things that I love to do, the way that I use it, is I may add it into my powdered lightener for my highlights. And then when I take them back to rinse and shampoo, I may be adding it into my gloss and then finishing with a damage shield treatment. So they might be getting 3 rounds of bonder into the hair and only 1 round of perfector. So it kind of depends on how you're using it and where the hair needs it, because you know what I mean? So pricing is really different depending on what services you're adding it into. For me, a lot of times in my highlight clients, it's 2 to 3 times it's being added into the service.
right. Yeah. So that's a good point, because it really is just going to depend on what services you're adding it into. Because yeah, if I'm adding it into my gloss, yeah, I'm going to charge again for that, right? Because I'm using more of that product. So for me, it always starts at 20. And then obviously the more I'm using, it's going to go up from there. I like Laura's $5 per bowl extra. So that's good, Laura. So yeah, it's really just going to be up to you. So good question. And then down at the bottom, remember it is a minimum step process. We do not have to shampoo for the damage shield treatment. We can just do the perfector and then follow up with REF conditioner. So that's it. That was awesome. Does anybody have any more questions about the ProPlex or the bleach lightener? All right, awesome. So you can follow us on, our Bravo Salon Specialist page. So we have our Facebook with the REF Stockholm Bravo Salon Specialist, and then over in that corner for Instagram, how long does product? I saw a question in there. How long does product last in the back bar? There should be a little small thing down at the bottom. I think it's like, Jesse, isn't it like 12 months, a year is what we've tested everything at?
I mean, even a tube of color will say that once it's opened, you should use it within a week. And we tested a tube of color after 4 years after it was opened, and it still worked. So, I mean,
I wouldn't worry about it. If you're using it, you'll go through it.
Yeah, if you're using it, it will be a non-issue, but I would say at least a year. But yes, if you look on the bottom of the packaging,
It'll say.
It shows like a little jar with a lid and then a number, and that's months.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tori said it's like a little open container.